welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I am joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, I'm excited. I am very excited for our show today. It's been a week. We didn't have a Jets game to watch this past weekend, so it's been 7 days since we came back on the show, but I'm excited because today is our second annual Midseason Woodies. The Woodies are returning. Our Midseason Award show is here. Mike, how are you feeling? Are you excited, buddy?
I still don't like that name.
I love it.
I'm mildly, only because we're talking about a 3-8 football team, and a 3-8 football team that is probably going to be just as bad next year. So the vibes have deteriorated to a point where it's bad, even beyond same old Jets stuff. Because I know this because we were supposed to be talking about, can they, win these last couple of games and make it to the playoffs and break the streak? And instead, we've seen Matt Nagy coaching rumors and Aaron Rodgers probably not going to be back in 2025. So not even a full year of Aaron Rodgers in terms of games played. And here we are again. So we'll get into that. We'll get into the latest with whoever the hell is going to come coach this team and run this team. We don't have an owner, GM, or coach. Would you need all of them to be successful? We don't have either of them right now. So.
Or QB.
Or QB for next year, yeah. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to support the show, there's 2 ways to do that this holiday season. You could subscribe, which costs ugats. You can just hit that button and then we're subscribed. Or 99-cent membership. 99 cents, you get priority reply to all of the comments in our live streams, be it during the week or after a game, which are full of, lots of happy things because the Jets always win and never disappoint us. So that's always a good time. Those are the 2 ways you can support the show. And then find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the podcast platforms. We are on all of them. So let's just get into this rip-roaring doozy of a show right before we have – what do you have for Thanksgiving? Anything particular? Because personally, for me, I'm mixed on Thanksgiving because I like turkey and I like stuffing, but not a ton. And all the other Thanksgiving accoutrements are kind of for me. So I may think Thanksgiving's an overrated holiday, but at least I get to spend, some time with the fam.
I like the spirit of Thanksgiving. I like the idea of, expressing thanks and expressing gratitude. I don't know. I'm a sap for that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think people love turkey. I feel like I've never met someone that is like in love with turkey. It's more so, I feel like it's a very common take to say that turkey is overrated. I think it's fine. I come from a Jewish family, so my dad's side is very Jewish. I go over and celebrate Thanksgiving with that side of the family, and we get like I don't know what you'd call a traditional Jewish Thanksgiving, but there's like classic Jewish food and stuff. I don't know. My take is always that Jewish food is it's pretty bad. Like it's just not a good cuisine. I don't know if that offends anyone. Sorry, I can say it.
Thank God for my brother, who's a great cook. He might actually even gonna whip up a couple side dishes that'll save something here. So there
you go. Noodle kugel is really good. For any Jews out there celebrating Thanksgiving, noodle kugel that's the shit. That's great. But anyway,
is that like spätzle or is that like
I don't know what did you just call me? What is that word? What did you
just say? A German like pasta-y, noodle-y dish.
It's like sweet. It's like I guess it's kind of like it's not really a desserty. It's sweet.
It had noodle in it. I mean, I thought because it had noodle.
I don't know. I don't know what word you just said. I don't know what that was, but sure, maybe.
This guy lived overseas for a while.
I lived in Germany.
The curtain here, and does not know an extremely common German food.
I know schnitzel. I've had schnitzel.
Well, everybody knows schnitzel.
I don't know. I lived in Germany, but I also lived near a military base, so I had a lot of wings and McDonald's in Germany have chicken wings and they're really good.
Oh yeah, McCafe is a separate restaurant. I've had over there. I went over there when I was in high school, so that's just my memories. I almost got lost in a McCafe, but that's a story for another time. You didn't come there. You came here for Aaron Rodgers talk.
Let's talk Jets.
Let's talk Jets. This is what the Jets have given us. We've resorted to reminiscing about high school field trips. Not field trips, vacations. Aaron Rodgers, all signs point to if not that he's definitely going to be out, he's certainly, I think, looking for some sort of exit strategy that he can enact if he wants to leave. As we mentioned before, the Jets are kind of screwed to a degree if he wants to come back because there's a lot of debt. Now, they could just cut him, but there's a lot of money that they're owed if they end up getting rid of him over the 2025 and 2026 caps, either via trade or a cut. They're still in for a lot of money. And it's going to be tough to find a trade partner because he's going to be 41, Achilles declining. It'll be tough, so they might just be stuck with him. But there's a sucker born every minute. I think somebody out there is probably going to be like, you know what? We can fix what's left of Aaron Rodgers. He's had some comments, though, on Pat McAfee where he's trying to make it sound like he wants to be back. Like, first priorities, I want to win with the Jets. I came here to win. I'm having a great time, the best 2 years of my life, even if the record on the field does not bear it out. And I'm not really buying too much into this because there are two things I've learned about this whole thing. Number one, there's no way every single report is wrong in Aaron Rodgers. There's no way every single person saying the Jets want to move on, he wants to move on. There's no way they're all wrong. Just laws of probability that doesn't work out. And number two, here's the thing about Rodgers, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just kind of like who he is. It's not really a thing either way. He can be very diplomatic in a way where like he knows where the edge is of like what is he's allowed to say and what he's not allowed to say. And he goes right up close to the edge. And he's not going to say anything definitive, but he'll let everybody from there draw their own conclusions. I think he knew, I can't say I'm not going to be back. I can't say I'm going to be back. So it's I might be back. I like it. I might not. All these vagaries. Nothing really definitive. I wouldn't really read too much into it. I think he's trying to, the best way he can, placate a fan base that he knows is super pissed off. And he knows probably does not want him back. I think if you poll most Jets fans right now, they probably wouldn't want him back. I think he's just trying to go for some sort of broad appeal play to make it not look like, he's a bad guy. Because he's certainly not going to get any slack from the fans who's playing the field. I think he's just trying to say, hey, you know what? I like being here. I tried. It didn't work out. That's at least my read on it.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Aaron Rodgers was on the New York Jets in 2025. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't know how many teams would be interested if he did decide to play. I don't know what's going on with that, but I would be surprised if he was in the Jets. Of course, there was the Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt report from The Athletic that came out last week. Went into detail a lot about Rodgers and other stuff. One of the bigger takeaways about Rodgers was that he doesn't really want to play for the Jets in 2025, and that the Jets do not want him to play for the Jets in 2025. Rodgers then went on McAfee yesterday. He made his regularly scheduled appearance on the Pat McAfee show, which, by the way, Mike, I am very excited. And this is nothing against Pat McAfee. I have nothing against Pat McAfee. I'm very excited for when/if Rodgers is gone in the offseason, that I don't have to worry about tuning into Pat McAfee show every Tuesday to hear my quarterback speak. That is not a shot at Pat McAfee. I have nothing against McAfee. I just rather would not have that be a daily part of my, or weekly part of my routine. But Rodgers goes on McAfee and basically says that he doesn't know if he's going to play in 2025, but if he does, the Jets are his top choice. That's what he says, which conflicts what was reported by Diana Rossini. And then there was the other report by Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, which I find it funny. A lot of people have been very much trashing The Athletic. They haven't said anything about Rappaport, who Rodgers also refuted his report. Rappaport had reported that Aaron Rodgers, this was, I think, on Sunday, he reported this, that Aaron Rodgers had declined medical scans and was pretty much masking the severity of his injury, specifically his hamstring injury that he suffered in week 4 against the Broncos. And the Jets were kind of just letting him do that. We're letting him avoid additional medical tests. And Rodgers went on McAfee and basically said that that's not true and that he is healthy and that he does not plan to go on IR, which was another part of that Rossini report, that the Jets might place Rodgers on IR, which I forget if I'd said that on this show before, but I know I'd spoken to people about that I expect that to be the case at some point, that they will shut down Rodgers. I might have said that last week. I'm not sure.
Maybe once they're officially eliminated from the playoffs. They are now. They're not going to make the playoffs. Maybe when they're officially out.
Correct. That's been my expectation. Now that this report's come out, I can foresee a scenario, Mike, where Rodgers is like, fuck that. I want to prove this report wrong, and I'm going to keep playing. I could see that being a scenario, and I also could see that being a scenario where the organization does not care enough to make a decision. Because why does it matter if you start Tyrod Taylor instead of Aaron Rodgers? It doesn't. It really doesn't. But I could still see a scenario where he ends up getting shut down and is on IR with 3 or 4 different injuries, because he is clearly playing very banged up. And if that report by Rappaport is to be believed, it seems like the hamstring injury is probably a little bit more serious than has been let on. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to take anything that Rodgers says at face value, knowing his history of I won't say lying because I don't think Aaron Rodgers blatantly lies in most cases. I think it's kind of like you hinted at. He stretches the truth. He does not tell full truths. And at the same time, I also don't blame the guy because if he's asked the question on Pat McAfee, hey, do you want to play with the Jets in 2025? What do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to say no? Do you think he's going to say, I actually don't want to play for the team that I'm currently starting for at quarterback on Sunday? No, he's not going to say that. And so I find it really funny that Rossini reports that. The Athletic reports, hey, he's probably not going to want to play for the Jets in 2025. And then he says, actually, I do still want to play for the team that I'm currently playing for. And everyone's like, oh, see, that report was wrong. Maybe he's just not telling the full truth there, because if he does, that makes everyone look bad. That doesn't help anything in the situation. So I don't know. The way people have talked about these reports, it makes me upset because it's just, I mean, I've gone on rants on Twitter. I've tried my best to not care at this point, but it reminds me of the Athletic report that came out in January of last year from Rossini and Rosenblatt, which was, a lot of the Robert Saleh stuff and kind of inside the dysfunction within the organization. And a lot of that stuff over the last 10 months, 9 months has been proven true, has been verified. And we've seen that dysfunction rear its ugly head again this year. And fans have just had a very similar reaction to this report, because any report that makes your favorite team look bad is immediately inaccurate and fake, and people are just making shit up. Like, that's how that stuff goes. And this isn't to say, and I've clarified this on Twitter, this isn't to say that you should take everything every report says at face value and assume that every part of it and every aspect of it is true. Media literacy is important. And I think a perfect example of that is when we're talking about that report that Rossini came out with, which was that Woody Johnson suggested benching Aaron Rodgers. And we talked about this last week, where we were both like, I don't think Woody was serious about that. I believe that people in the room in that meeting took him seriously, which is what was reported. But I don't genuinely believe that Woody Johnson wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after week 4. I have a very low opinion of Woody Johnson. I don't even think he would seriously suggest that. So I don't know. I can go on a whole rant about it. I don't want to. Ultimately, none of what Rodgers is saying on McAfee really matters. I don't expect Rodgers to be on the team in 2025.
I get where he's coming from in that everybody wants to go out on a high note, but I think he is worried that this Jets tenure is going to leave this big stain on his career when, I mean, in reality, like, do people remember Emmitt Smith on the Cardinals? Do people remember Jerry Rice on the Seahawks? No, even quarterback, obviously this guy's not as good. They don't remember Phillip Rivers on the Colts. They don't even remember, I would argue, Brett Favre, the end of his career. They remember the good Vikings year. They don't remember the Jets year and then the bad Vikings year immediately after that, where he was terrible. Like, I get that he wants to not even do a Tom, I guess do a Tom Brady, because Brady won, even though the last 2 years he started showing his age. The last year especially, he was very clearly washed. But, like, it's okay, Aaron. You can let it go. Like, he's got nothing more to prove. I know he'd like more Super Bowls than one, but you got one. You got 4 MVPs. You're probably going to end up with 500 touchdown passes in your career, despite basically not playing for 4 whole years, because he had 3 backup years and then the Achilles tear and then a broken collarbone. So basically 4.5 full years of his career were washed away. Still has 500 touchdowns, 4th all time. Like, it's fine to walk away like that. You don't need to go to the Titans and try to turn them around. You don't need to go to the Raiders and try to turn them around. Like, it's fine to walk away. I get that you like money, but you've got more than enough. You got property, you got investments, you got the money made from football. You're fine. Your football career is not going to be affected if you can't make the Jets work, because who can make the Jets work?
I don't think it's about money with him, honestly. Like, one thing that we've known about Aaron Rodgers, and honestly, this is a discussion that we can have right now. I've talked about this with a couple of people. Aaron Rodgers has always been the ultimate competitor. That's been his mantra since he was in Green Bay, sometimes to a detriment. He really, really, really cared about winning, like almost to a fault at points. I think Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know the guy personally, obviously. He's not a friend of mine. But I think Aaron Rodgers as a person, like, his mentality has changed a bit in the last, 3-4 years. I think if you put Aaron Rodgers, the Aaron Rodgers of 2018, 2019, whatever, if you put that Aaron Rodgers on this current Jets team, ignoring, obviously performance, obviously he plays at a higher level and he's probably not as old and hurt, I think it's still a very different situation. I think the Rodgers that we've gotten in 2024 is almost like he's almost going through his hippie era. Like, he's almost going through his like, Zen era, I feel like he cares less about stuff. We still see it sometimes on the field. He gets pissed about certain plays, but after the game, it's always, relax. Everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. And honestly,
Well, he's never really been that like kind of light a fire under your ass guy anyway. Like, I mean, he gets mad screaming and yelling at me. Like when like Tom Brady was a very vocal scream and yell kind of guy. Like Peyton Manning mostly was not, from what we saw. Rodgers wasn't really either. So I mean, he's not going to just get old and grouchy.
I think if it was Rodgers in 2018, 2019, and this isn't meant to be like a criticism of him because whatever, man, protect your mental. If he's happier, whatever, that's fine. I think Rodgers 2018, 2019 would hold guys more accountable than has been held in 2024 than on this current Jets team. And I don't know, what that says about his future. Maybe he is more content with his career at this point. I do think that his tenure with the Jets will have a bit more of a dark stain on his legacy than some of the guys you mentioned, mostly because of the hype around it and how there was so much hype, so much media attention, so many expectations.
But then the Achilles hat, that's not his fault though, right?
It doesn't matter. It's going to be viewed as, oh man, let's just not talk about those Jets years. He is a great quarterback who is one of the best of all time, is a obvious first ballot Hall of Famer, but that end of his career is going to be rough. And I don't know.
Did you hear Michael Kay compare him to O.J. Simpson, saying sometimes what you do off the field impacts your legacy. Look at O.J. Simpson and Brett Favre.
Whoa! What are we doing? Jesus Christ!
I was drinking water. I literally I was choked on it.
It's so funny. And again, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers stan. I'm the farthest thing from it. I think I've been accused of the exact opposite more often than not. It's so funny how people talk about Rodgers like he's the worst human being in the NFL when there are sexual predators, there are possible murderers, there are awful people in the NFL. And somehow Rodgers
has he really even done things that you? I mean, he's been a bit prickly sometimes, but has he ever told people to shut up or been really ornery? I don't think so.
With media members, yeah. He's been really, really like that.
Well, I guess that's why they're upset then, but
probably that's probably why he gets. I mean, obviously that's partially why he gets so much negative attention. But yeah, I as far as again, I think if this was the Rodgers of 2018, 2019, he would want to push forward another year and maybe change his legacy and be all right, I still got another year in me, and maybe he still does because he might look at this year as hey, I'm playing hurt. I'm clearly not fully healthy. Let me run it back in 2025. Let's go to the Vikings. Let's go to the Titans. Let's go wherever, Vegas, whoever he ends up going to. And he hopefully can stay healthy that year. I could see him thinking that as well. Either way, as far as the Jets are concerned, I would be stunned. I would be surprised. I can't say stunned with this organization. I would be surprised if Aaron Rodgers was on the Jets roster in 2025.
Let's talk about the future because Mike Tannenbaum is again influencing Jets decisions. The Jets I love how they make it sound like they're like a law firm. They've retained the 33rd team services. Yeah. The 33rd team is like a website. It's fan-sided to a degree. It just has, instead of me and Justin, it has Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman and Adam Gase, who works for them now.
Yes, I think he does. I think it was Brian, aka now Manish Mehta's burner, who I think he clarified on Twitter he might not still work there. I forget what the situation was.
Did he get fired already? That's impressive.
Well, they never he's not listed on their website. It was Schefter mentioned it, but he's not listed on their website at all. So who knows? Maybe he doesn't even exist. I don't know. Does Adam Gase still exist in the year?
I know that they have an arm like Pro Football Focus where they have a data arm that they sell to companies and sell to teams and stuff like that. That maybe he's doing something with that. I don't know. But maybe. Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman have been retained to help with this coaching search. Here's why I don't like the media writ large. Because, again, the Jets are laughing stock, losers. Woody Johnson is terrible. Every hire he makes sucks, which is true for most part. Then he does this, and I remember seeing takes Woody Johnson doesn't have enough connections to hire a right owner. Apparently not. Yeah. Sometimes you need outside help. And now these guys aren't perfect because Mike Tannenbaum wasn't an amazing GM. He was okay. Rick Spielman, okay. He built some good Vikings teams. Obviously didn't really break through. And I think the years where they had Kirk Cousins, they were getting legitimate Super Bowl hype. They never really quite got there. It was a very Jets thing. They needed the quarterback, and then they got Kirk Cousins and didn't really break through. I get that. These are the kind of guys that I think you need, not Charlie Casserly, not Woody Johnson's son, Breck, who's apparently also the kind of GM, if you read some of the reporting, not Christopher Johnson. These are people I want advising Woody Johnson. He doesn't know what he's doing, and Chris, for the most part, doesn't. Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman, I think, at least have a better idea of what a good coach looks like than Woody Johnson, because the last time he hired a good coach, it was 2009. It was Rex Ryan. He had 2 good years, and then it crashed and burned. He missed the playoffs. I don't know why everybody wants to bring him back now. Him and Gruden, who has not won a playoff game in literally over 20 years, was the last time John Gruden won a playoff game.
And who is actively suing the NFL at the moment.
He is suing the NFL. It is 2000. The year he won the Super Bowl with the Bucks, which was not even a team he built. It was Tony Dungy's team. That was the last time he won a playoff game. So fans want, and the last time Rex did anything good coaching was 2010. Maybe they'll say, hey, don't hire Rex. Don't hire John Gruden. Don't hire guys out of the media. Hire A, B, and C. That's what I want.
Yeah, it's very easy to clown the Jets in pretty much every scenario, especially now. They are the obvious butt of the joke in almost everything. But there was a lot of immediate pushback when this was reported. And I get it. I understand why fans are reacting like that. They see Mike Tannenbaum's name and they're like, oh my God, like the Jets are bringing in a former, a GM that they fired to help hire their next GM. Like, I understand the irony of that, but I don't see why this is a bad move. In fact, I'd rather this route than pretty much any other route, because the alternatives were they hire an external search firm who does not have football connections. That's how you end up with someone like John Idzik, or you hire someone like a Charlie Casserly, that's how you end up with Mike Maccagnan, because Maccagnan was a Casserly protege, and he was like
hire my buddy, hire my pupil.
He was a buddy who was not on the radar of any NFL teams. This route,
and he hasn't gotten a job since.
No, he has not. That's another one with kind of
what
like
is he even doing now? I wonder.
I don't know. His Wikipedia page is so small. I was looking at it the other day. For like an NFL GM, it's remarkable how little information is made available about Mike Maccagnan.
That's what he gets for going to Petty, man. That's what you get.
All I remember is he liked coffee. I took a photo with Mike Maccagnan one time, by the way, outside of a Jets game. That was fun. I ran into him and his wife, which was a weird scenario. Anyway, yeah, I think this is the best route that they could have gone. Spielman specifically helped the Commanders land Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, and Adam Peters was considered one of the better GM candidates around the league, and he used his connections to help hire Adam Peters in Washington, and it seems like that's working out right now. Obviously, they ended up getting Jaden Daniels, and they had a really good offseason, and that regime seems to be off to a really good start. That's great. Let's do that with the Jets now. Spielman and Tannenbaum both have plenty of connections in the NFL. They've worked in the league for a long time. And yeah, I don't see why this is a bad move at all. This is my preferred route. It's very easy to look at it and point to the irony of Tannenbaum being here and say it's funny, but I think it's the right decision. I have seen some people, and I want to get your thought to this, Mike. I have a firm opinion. I've seen some people say that, well, if Tannenbaum's back and Tannenbaum is in charge of this hiring process, or at least it has a large say, does that mean it's more likely that the Jets actually hire Rex Ryan and bring him back? Because, of course, Tannenbaum was the one who hired Rex Ryan back in 2009. What are your thoughts on that?
So, what day was the day the Jets beat the Steelers in the? Do you remember?
This year?
No,
not this year. In the playoffs?
In the playoffs? Played the Steelers in the AFC Championship game, the second Rex year.
What day was it? Like the dates?
Yeah.
I don't remember the date. Sometime in January. I don't know.
All right. You know why I'm doing that, though? Because I just looked up the, what do you call it? The Billboard 100, and Firework by Katy Perry was the #1 song the last time the Jets won a playoff game. So the thing about that, is the last time Rex Ryan did anything worth a damn as a head coach. And I'm supposed to believe in 2025, at a time when the Kyle Shanahan guys are starting to look somewhat outdated schematically, that Rex Ryan will fix the offense. That's what I'm being led to believe. If that happens, they deserve everything they get. They don't deserve to make the playoffs if they make moves like that.
I agree.
One thing that I did think was interesting, though, and I want to shut up some dummies here. One of the people mentioned, or at least connected to the job. Again, it's media members trying to, back their guys, but still, or their gals, I should say in this case. Don Aponte?
Yes.
Don Aponte. who is the VP of football operations for the NFL and interviewed for the Chargers GM job last cycle. Joe Hornets from Baltimore got it eventually, has been connected to the Jets. And if you want to go and say, here's why I don't want to hire Donna Pont, because she does not have a scouting background, I go, I that makes sense. Because she was senior vice president of football operations in Miami, and people hated her because she was really firm with contract negotiations, and everybody got pissed, and a lot of guys walked out. Like, go look up what Dolphins fans had to say about her. It is not particularly pretty. That I can get behind. To say that she is not qualified is, I don't even, I hate having to dignify that, but VP of football operations for football since 2017. And before that, she had worked for the Jets for 11 years. She worked for the Browns. She worked for Miami. I get that her experience is more the financial side, like cap negotiations and doing deals with players. I get that. And maybe the Jets need a scout. But at the same time, look at the last three guys they've hired. They've hired a financial guy, Idzik. He was like the Seahawks cap guy. Didn't work. Then they hired McCagnon, who was like the director of college scouting, I believe, for Houston. Obviously didn't work out. Joe Douglas was a scout before, but he was also like on the NFL side, VP of player personnel with the Eagles. That didn't work out. Again, they've tried everything. Why not try this? Especially because she's going to get more GM interviews at some point. Why not try? The Jets have hired men for 60 years and it worked one time. Why not try this?
Yeah, I almost feel like it's not even worth addressing the people that have an issue with this for the obvious reason that she's a woman. It's not worth addressing those people. We'll talk. We can talk football. Like, I do think it's a valid concern, and I had this conversation with somebody who was unfortunately one of those people that I'm referring to on Twitter, where I said, yeah, it's valid to have a concern saying, hey, she doesn't have a scouting background, because the vast majority of NFL GMs do have some background in scouting. At some level, they have a background in scouting, but not all of them. And to say that someone's not qualified because of that is silly. One of the best GMs, in fact, you could make an argument, the best GM in the NFL, Howie Roseman, does not have a background in scouting. You know what his background is? You know what he got started as? A salary cap staff council member of the Eagles back in early 2000s.
Same with the guy in Pittsburgh.
Yes, Omar Khan. And then in Minnesota, what's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah also doesn't have a background in scouting. There are examples of guys in the league of GMs in the league who do not have a background in scouting. You don't have to have it. That being said, if we're going off track record, yeah, I'd prefer someone with a background in scouting, but that obviously doesn't make someone not qualified. Ultimately, it's hard to even analyze like, oh, who would be a good or who would be a bad GM hire, because it's a crapshoot. It's more of a crapshoot.
Joe Douglas was very qualified.
Joe Douglas was extremely qualified, was held in super high regard, came from two winning organizations, like two extreme, maybe the two best, like most well-run organizations in the NFL, in Baltimore and Philly, and he still didn't work out. So it's so hard to even predict it. But yes, Donna Ponte is qualified. I would not be upset if she was hired by any means. It'd be hard for me to be upset at a GM hire at this stage. Just, as long as they hire someone who is at least on the NFL's radar and is getting GM interviews and makes sense, you're going to have my stamp of approval, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, obviously the idiots that are saying stuff about why she's not qualified, we know what the real reason they're saying she's not qualified. It's the same reason that Diana Rossini is getting 30 times the hate that Zach Rosenblatt or Ian Rappaport are, unfortunately.
She would be the second in the four major North American sports league, the second female GM, the first being Kim Eng with the Marlins, who was only there for 2 years, got the Marlins to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then they said, hey, we want to actually cut your salary and start rebuilding. And she said, screw that, and left.
Right.
I thought that was a pretty good job of GMing that Kim Eng did. She was with the Yankees for all those years.
Yeah.
Why not? Why can't it work?
Why not try something different?
Oh, yeah, they should hire. I saw one guy on Twitter. You see that guy on Twitter in your replies who said make Eric Mangini the GM?
Yes, I did see that.
People are just throwing shit at a wall. Go look it up. It's in my replies. Somebody said Eric Mangini should be the GM of the Jets.
Yeah.
Brian,
a.k.a.
also known as Brian Stern. It threw me for a loop because I remember the picture, but not the username.
Yeah.
Might get in trouble. I don't think Woody has the stomach to appoint a woman in charge. I mean, Woody is not a very progressive guy. I think he
No.
will tell you he's not a progressive guy. It stinks, but he's not. However, he also, I think, is at his wit's end with trying to make the Jets a winner because he's a bad owner, but he has tried pretty much everything. Quick fix, long rebuild, offensive guy, defensive guy, old guy, young guy. He's tried everything. Veteran quarterback, pick a quarterback, number 2 overall. He has tried everything. Maybe there's a part of him, it's like the Grinch when his heart starts growing. Maybe there's a part of him where it's like, maybe I got to do something outside of the box. Now, Woody's outside of the box thing might be hiring Rex, which would be terrible. But I think if he gets somebody around him to say, hey, she is super duper qualified. She may not work out, but nobody would fault the Jets hiring her based solely on qualifications. Like, nobody faulted the Jets for hiring Joe Douglas, I think. It didn't work out, but, like, who could have foreseen this when they hired him?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I'm with you. Woody Johnson is obviously not the leading leader in the progressive movement, right? But I think ultimately he does want what's best for the team, and if he has a lot of people in his ear telling him that this is what's best, you just hope that he listens to those people. I mean, they hired Tannenbaum and Spielman for a reason, and if Tannenbaum and Spielman are singing her praises, which Tannenbaum I know has a ton of history working with Donna Ponte. I believe they worked together in Miami, and Donna Ponte was also with the Jets at a point
for 11 years.
Right.
And
so she
her maiden name was Dee Fortuna, and she's from Staten Island and went to Wagner. You couldn't get more local.
Right.
Couldn't get more Jets fan than that.
Exactly. So I could see that. I mean, obviously I'm pretty sure she worked under Woody as well, in a different capacity, in a different role. Worked under Tannenbaum too. So there's some connections there. It makes sense. That's just the first GM candidate that we've heard. There will be more over the coming weeks and months. But for now, Mike,
did you know really quick before we move on that Jennifer Garner's character in Draft Day was based on her?
I saw that when I was looking at her Wikipedia. That is the only reason I know that. I didn't know that until I looked at the Wikipedia.
Sucks, but
yeah, I mean, it's for a football fan, it irks me because there's so much where I'm like, this wouldn't happen. Like, there's so much that bothers me.
It's just funny though, because I know people that are like super, what do they call them, cinephiles, where they watch all the the crazy movies and they have all these lists.
I don't like that.
And then they don't follow football, so they're like, they don't get what the NFL draft is. So like, he's trading back. Like, they don't get why that's a dramatic moment. And I'm like, I get it. Like, it wasn't even dramatic for me because I'm like, all right, that's stupid. It wouldn't happen in real life. But they're like, who cares if they move up from 12 to 3? I'm like, you gotta be in it. You can't explain it like that.
You know what time it is now, Mike? It is time
for our unnamed midseason awards, unsullied by sponsorship since 2023.
It is time for the second annual Midseason Woodies. The Woody Awards are back. We're going to be breaking down a bunch of different awards for the Jets. It's past the midseason point at this point, but it is the sort of bye week. We were going to do it last week, and then the Jets decided to fire Joe Douglas. So let's start with the most obvious award. We have a bunch to get through here. Let's start with the biggest award. And honestly, this was tough for me, Mike. But we did share our picks before we just went live. So I do think we both have the same answer for this, which, by the way, I did go back to last year and see what we picked for our MVP last year and all of our awards. Do you know who we picked last year for MVP? Mid-season MVP. That was a good guess. Sauce was unbelievably snubbed of a lot of awards. It was Breece Hall. We both said it was Breece Hall, which I get. The offense did not function without him. I understand why we picked that, especially because we had to watch Dalvin Cook as his backup. So I think that made us appreciate him more. And for a similar reason, I believe we both have our MVP this year as Garrett Wilson.
I mean, he's the only one who's really of the big name players.
Yeah.
Garrett is really the only one who has either maintained his play from last year or improved upon it. He's really the only one. Breece has gone down slightly. Sauce has gone down. Sauce is still great, but he's not like the undoubted number one corner in the league anymore, so that's a regression. Quinnen Williams, mostly there, but he really took him a while to kind of get going. Like, it's been bad. It's not just Aaron Rodgers. It's been bad.
Yeah.
But Garrett Wilson's the one guy. I know that his numbers don't look that much better than last year, especially considering even with this state of Rodgers, the catastrophic upgrade that they have over Zach Wilson, a quarterback. You'd think he would have been bumped up by more, but it's hard to really, thumb your nose at a guy who's got 5 touchdowns for the first time. He's on pace for his 3rd straight 1,000-yard season. He's averaging 6 catches and 65 yards a game. That's good production, especially when now Devontae Adams for most of the year is taking targets away from you. Garrett Wilson has been the one saving grace. As Marcelo Cabrera says, he started slowly. Glad he shook it up. He did start slowly, and then he's had some really big games for him.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at this, because I tried to approach this as like, who is the most indispensable player in the team? Who, if he was gone, would the team be so much worse? And I was considering Quinnen Williams, because I do think there's a massive drop-off from him to everyone else in that defensive tackle room. But ultimately, I went Garrett Wilson. Even before the arrival of Devontae Adams, I would have said that. And now, even that Adams is here, I think Garrett Wilson is still arguably been the best player on the Jets roster this entire year. It's been a tough year. It was really honestly difficult to find like a true MVP because they are a 3-win football team and not a lot has gone right. But I'll give it to Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson deserves it, and I hope that they pay him eventually. And I'm excited to see what he does next year, hopefully with a more competent team around him. Let's go now to the
LVP. Now this was a barn burner. This was the Academy was really wringing their hands over this one because
dude, there were so many candidates. This was the hottest award of the award season, arguably, and I think we have different picks here, right? Who did you say?
We do have different picks here. I'm gonna let you go first because I can't fault your pick either. I just picked mine for different reasons. So
sure. Well, do you know who we picked last year? We also had different awards last year. You cheated a little bit. You said every single player who played left tackle and right tackle, which was a bold choice. That was so Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, and all those guys, Max Mitchell, whoever. I said Randall Cobb. We were on our major.
Real quick though, Brian Sternbeck, Zerline was snubbed. Yes, it's not Greg Zerline.
Don't worry.
Believe it or not, it is not Greg Zerline. He was number 3. He was my number 3, but he's pretty much cut now. So.
We will get to Zerline. I think there might be an award or two in here for Zerline, and there may be an award for John Simpson as well. I believe we'll get to him, but no, I can't say the left guard is the MVP. As far as LVP is going, yeah, last year I said Randall Cobb. This year, I'm saying Hassan Reddick. It's Hassan Reddick. I don't think relative to what their value was supposed to be, any player has performed or been less valuable than Hassan Reddick. The Jets traded a future 3rd-round pick for Hassan Reddick. They expected him to be an all-pro pass rusher, someone who would, help replace Bryce Huff and help replace John Franklin Myers and be the piece that would bring the entire defensive line room together. And he's played 3 games, 2 games, 3 games?
4.
4 games.
Sack. Yeah, one good. The Texans game, he was good.
Right.
That was it.
He's done pretty much nothing since coming back. Was fine, I guess, in a game or two. Obviously, in that Texans game where the D-line just went off and they had a ton of pressures on C.J. Stroud. He was good. But relative to expectations, he's done absolutely nothing and also was a cause of the root of one of the most dysfunctional storylines of a dysfunctional season for the organization. There are so many players that you could have picked here. I also considered putting him as biggest disappointment, which we'll get to later. Again, another award that is a barn burner, and there are so many potential candidates. But I'll say Hassan Reddick for this one. If you want to say, whoever, I know who you're going to say. And actually, I might push back on who you're going to say. But I think there's a lot of serious candidates for this award.
Mine is also, I know we're doing the disappointment thing later, but my disappointment ties into this because I liked Hassan Reddick, and then once that trade thing happened, I kind of just said, all right, whatever we get from him is free money at this point. Literally an unprecedented holdout. The guy lost like $9 million, $10 million.
Yeah.
You can't predict that kind of stupidity. What you also can't predict is a guy being a future Hall of Famer, All-Pro last year, and now he looks like Mekhi Becton. I'm going to say Tyron Smith. And it hurts for me to say Tyron Smith, but if you look at this offensive line, John Simpson, we're all pretty pleased with. Joe Tippmann, we're all pretty pleased with. Vera Tucker, I think when healthy, he's been very good. Morgan Moses, when healthy, I think has been very good. Fashanu has been up and down, but I think after he had a horrible time when he started out, then he kind of got a little better. I think he's starting to kind of get in a groove here. The biggest disappointment has been Tyron Smith. They gave him this cut. They thought they were getting all-pro Tyron Smith, and how could you not? Because he literally was an all-pro when they signed him. And now he's been one of the worst left tackles in the AFC. That's what hurts so much. Because it's if he didn't work out with the Jets, how can anybody not work out with the Jets?
I think, and I've been saying this, I think that Tyron Smith's bad season, while admittedly bad and a major disappointment relative to expectations, I think it's been a little overblown. I don't think he's been as bad as some of the numbers would indicate, and
Well, it's also
as
because you
some
got
fans would say.
Fashanu. You actually got like a willing replacement right there. So it's not like last year where they had nobody and they had to stick with
Sure.
Laken Tomlinson.
I saw a stat earlier today. Tyron Smith has one of the highest island rates of any tackle in the league. Basically, whenever he was out there, he's been always left on an island by himself, had no help, no chipping, no double teams, whatever. And he was performing at a relative league average level in pass protection.
Fashanu was really bad. I saw that wasn't good.
Fashanu was a lot worse. I don't think Tyron Smith has been as bad as the sack numbers would indicate. I think a lot of the sack numbers are a product of an extremely immobile quarterback. I think Tyron Smith's been a below average left tackle this year. I don't think he's been unplayable. He's been better than Mekhi Becton was last year by a good margin, by a wide margin, in my opinion.
He's great now. Of course, he's great now.
Yeah, it was great playing left. He's great playing right guard, like a position.
Jets ask you to play right tackle. No, Eagles ask you to play right guard. Okay, it's like, how is that
situation?
I don't even know what that is. Is it culture? I don't know.
It's like, culture. He respected the Eagles. He respected Jeff Stoutland a lot more than he respected the Jets and Keith Carter. That's what that is. And he was a little bit more desperate at that point in his career too, to just kind of get on the field.
I'm glad we made him desperate then. Okay. I'm glad we helped him realize that, Mekhi.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's harsh to give LVP to Tyron Smith. I think, as Marcelo said, Zerline deserves it more than Tyron Smith. I mean, Zerline, holy shit, man. He's trying to lost
again, Zerline's basically gone anyway.
Yeah, but he's legitimately lost them games. Like Tyron Smith, I think, has been a more valuable player than quite a few players in the Jets roster. Like I feel like it's harsh. I mean, it's not the worst pick. Again, he's been a disappointment. I think he's a better candidate for disappointment than he is LVP. I just think he's been okay. He's been fine. Well, let's get to
this. This is a lean category, rookie of the year, man.
It was also lean last year. It was lean last year too, which should say a lot. Last year we both picked Joe Tippmann because he was the only rookie that was playing. This year, I think there are two candidates, and I will say, I think right now we probably have the same pick, and that's
Braylon Allen.
Braylon Allen. But I think in a couple of weeks it's going to be Olu Fashanu. Because
Braylon Allen has not been very good for like 2 months.
Correct. It's not been talked about. Braylon Allen, over the first 4 games of his career, I was averaging 5 yards per carry. Since then, he's averaging 2.8 yards per carry. Dude's done virtually nothing since that hot start. And obviously, some of that's the product around him. And I think he's still exceeded expectations for a 20-year-old 4th-round pick. So, sure, he can take Rookie of the Year for now. I do think by the end of the year and within a few weeks, we'll be saying it's Olu Fashanu. I don't expect Tyron Smith to play another game for the Jets this year. It sounds like he's a strong candidate to go on IR, and that'll probably happen. So I think it'll be Fashanu eventually, but right now it's Braylon Allen. I don't think you can even make a case for anyone else because no one else is really playing very much. Even the UDFAs are not like Leonard Taylor.
My rookie of the year is Brock Bowers, who's setting the catch record for tight ends. And wait a minute, Brock Bowers isn't on the Jets. Okay.
Oh man, you don't gotta do that. You don't got.
Olu better be good. He better be good, man.
I agree. I think I said that on Twitter a couple weeks ago. I was like, Olu better be good, or else I'm crashing out. Like he's got to be good, and I do think he'll be good. And I think we've seen some positive signs from him at left tackle now that he's finally playing there. But yeah, I think it will be Fashanu eventually. Right now, Braylon Allen is really our only possible pick. Another category that I would say this might have been the hardest one for me. This was the last one that I got to pick an answer for. Because it's just how do you even choose? The category is Coach of the Year. This is the award for Coach of the Year. Last year, you said Tony Oden, cornerbacks coach, defensive backs coach. I said Robert Saleh because the Jets were maximizing a lot of their talent, especially on the defensive end. I mean, I don't think it was a terrible pick at the time. It made sense. Robert Saleh is no longer with the team. Tony Oden is overseeing a unit that has regressed significantly in 2024. This is a really tough choice. Do you want to? I have my pick. Do you want me to say my pick first?
Feel free.
I'll say Todd Downing, which I don't feel good about that. I don't think Todd Downing is particularly amazing.
Well, you got one supporter here.
I got Marcelo agreeing. I think he's been a substantial improvement over Nathaniel Hackett, which is saying very little.
But I think he's been good. The OC and he'd be better.
Sure, but he's been better than Nathaniel Hackett. He has exceeded my expectations because I expected him to be roughly in a similar tier to Hackett. I actually think he's been pretty decent. And I also cannot think of another coach. The other coach I was thinking about was Mike Rutenberg, who is the linebackers coach, because Mosley's missed most of the year and the linebackers have still been okay. Quincy's taken a step back from his all-pro.
Sherwood's been good.
And Sherwood's been good. That was my other thought. Other than that, what position group has exceeded expectations? The offensive line's been okay, but I think they're being held back by their coaching staff, so I can't say that. Brant Boyer, the special teams has been garbage. Like, what else are we going to say? What other coach would be a possible
Tony
candidate?
Dew's the running back coach? I don't know.
But even still, Brees has been worse than last year. Can't be the QB. Well, QB coach is Downing, who's also, I guess, maybe I should hold that against him because he is the QB coach and Rodgers taking a step back. But it's hard to blame the QB coach for that. I don't think that's on Downing. I don't know. Man.
Genuine question. What is Nathaniel Hackett doing right now?
You're spoiling.
What does he do day to day?
You're spoiling.
And don't even say like just to be funny. Like what football things does he do?
You're spoiling it because that is an award I might have had potentially prepared for later. I'll say right now, it is the "What Does This Guy Even Do" award, which last year we had that award last year. Do you know who we gave that to?
The "What Does This Guy Do" award, probably Keith Carter.
No, it was Tim Boyle because that was before Tim Boyle played. That was before he even played
this week with the Giants.
Who very well might be on the field on Thursday, almost a year to the day of his Black Friday game last year. But I gave that, we can give that award, the "What Does This Guy Even Do" award, also known as the "Does This Person Even Exist" award, to Nathaniel Hackett. Other candidates that I wrote down for that award: Israel Abanikanda, who has been inactive in every single game this year and has not played; Jordan Travis, who, for our knowledge, might not exist. We don't know.
I don't think he's ever going to play for the Jets. I know people keep saying I don't think he's ever going to play for the Jets.
I don't know if he's going to play an NFL game. I could see. I think it might be heading toward James Morgan territory with that. We'll see. Obviously, 2024 was never supposed to be the year for him. I don't like the injury.
But they're going to add a quarterback anyway. So
Correct.
He's going to be third again.
Correct. I don't like the injury reports that we're getting that he's had multiple setbacks. I don't love that. The other guy,
like drafting a third-string quarterback with the open admission, like we're just never going to play him. That seems weird.
The other guy considered for that award, who could be also a candidate for biggest disappointment, Malachi Corley. The "Does This Guy Even Exist" award. Up until recently, I wouldn't have known he existed. Now he's playing a little bit because after the Lazard injury. But I think that's another candidate for like, does this guy exist? Is he a figment of our imagination? Yeah, that was that award.
Let's talk about some off-season additions. I think that's a category we need to start hitting.
Sure.
The Jets made a lot of moves lately, and very few of them have worked out. That's why Joe Douglas is no longer employed. He's going to probably get some sort of consultancy thing, though, afterward. He'll be fine. He's not going to be like McCagnon or Idzik where nobody touches him.
Correct.
Looking at, I think Idzik got hired, actually, after the Jets. I think he was like...
Brian put in chat earlier, the Jags, yeah.
His son is like the OC for the Panthers. But anyway, Brad
Is he really?
Idzik. Yeah, Brad
Is he really?
Idzik.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder how he got that job. So, looking at this was a move that I remember when it happened. And I don't know if we have a tally of like who was right or who was wrong more on off-season moves. This is one I am firmly ticking the I was right on it is John Simpson.
For sure.
He's my best acquisition. He has been a phenomenal guard. It looks like we got, instead of Raiders John Simpson, which I think you were worried about, that we were going to buy into a fluke year with Baltimore and he was going to be terrible again and be like in Tomlinson. We instead got Ravens John Simpson, who is mean and angry. Like when he was like going after guys on the Patriots that one game, I'm like, all right, yeah, things are different here now. And then things weren't different now. But Simpson himself has been really good. And I know Joe Douglas got fired because he couldn't build an offensive line. It took him until year 6, but I think with signings like Simpson, he got it. Too little, too late, but he eventually got it.
Yeah, I think John Simpson is the obvious pick here for best, as Marcelo agrees that John Simpson best. Absolutely. I think this is definitely the only offseason addition that I can point to and say this was absolutely a surefire slam dunk home run. And yeah, I was very low on the signing at the time. It was the timing of it too. Like they brought in Simpson before they brought in Tyron Smith and before they traded for Morgan Moses. So it was like, man, we need a complete offensive line overhaul. And John Simpson was the big addition. And it was also a product of, I watched him in Vegas when I was covering the Raiders, and he was as unplayable as it gets. I mean, dude was bad. Dude was really bad. You saw him and covered him when he was with the Ravens last year, and he was good. Like he was decent. He was a solid starting caliber player. So I think we both saw different versions of John Simpson.
I
Thankfully,
just don't think I mean, look who his coach was. It was John Gruden. I don't think he was being taught the right technique.
Well, I don't even think. I know you like this signing a lot more than me. I don't even think you saw this coming. I mean, he's been their best offensive lineman.
I didn't envision him being the best interior lineman. No, I didn't.
The entire discussion in the offseason, once after they made all their offensive line moves, was you can live with John Simpson as your worst offensive lineman. That's what I was saying going into the year. I was like, that's fine. If he's your 5th best offensive lineman, that's okay. I'm okay with this move. It was a pretty cheap move. I don't have an issue with it. He's been their best offensive lineman. He has been their best offensive lineman. So that's a great move. The value that they got in that is outstanding. He will be the starting left guard next year. And if he continues to play at a high level, hopefully he's a long-term starter. That is Joe Douglas's parting gift, was finally potentially fixing the offensive line right before he got fired. As far as worst offseason addition, oh, buddy, there are so many. There is a lot.
Where do you start?
Was rough. Just because I gave LVP to Hassan. Now, you know what? I'm still going Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick is still the worst offseason addition.
Yeah,
you could say,
how could it
you
not
could say
be?
Tyron Smith. You could say Tyron Smith. You could say, I think the Javon Kinlaw addition was really bad, and I hated that one at the time. There's other ones, I'm sure, but it's got to be Hassan Reddick.
And
he's barely
even
played.
If you count Fashanu over Bowers, that's in the discussion right now, at least, I think.
Maybe, but that's so much like
it's just because of how good Bowers has been.
Yeah, I get that. I'm still not confident, but I'm still optimistic about Fashanu's future. But yeah, I think Reddick gets it over Tyron Smith, but obviously both were very bad additions. I will also best offseason addition. I want to give a shout out to Morgan Moses. Not that he deserves it over Simpson, but I think that's been a very good and under discussed move, and I'd love to see him brought back in 2025 because he's still a solid player and he's been playing hurt too, which has become a theme with him. Dude is just
Brandon R. Smith got Rodgers killed.
Rodgers got
Rodgers killed.
Rodgers getting himself killed. The Jets' pass protection has been league average this year. Rodgers getting himself killed, if anything.
At least Tyron, he's LVP, but at least put him on there because I have a full slate of games to pick from. I don't with Reddick.
Yeah.
And that's one of now 3 third-round picks. Third-round picks this is going to be top 100 selections. Just poof, gone. Yep. Reddick, poof, gone. Devontae Adams made sense. If he stays after this year, that's probably a pretty good trade then because you still have Devontae Adams and then whoever, you'll take that. And then Malachi Corley. Just poof, gone.
Our best offseason addition last year, which this should say a lot about the Joe Douglas era because there was some slim pickings. We both picked Quentin Jefferson as the best offseason addition last year. Who is another move where it's like, oh man, they could have brought him back and it'd be nice and he could probably help them more than
Who was the worst? Right was it Rodgers or was it?
For some reason we didn't do worst offseason addition, but I think you can relate it to the get this guy off my team award, which I said Dalvin Cook, you said Randall Cobb. I think both of those can be qualified for that. This year, we'd probably go like Michael Clemens for that if we were to do that award. Michael Clemens or something like that. I don't know.
Most improved. I feel like we've already done our biggest disappointment, so let's hop to most improved.
Sure.
There's 2 horses in the race. One on offense, one on defense.
I think you could argue there's 3, but I agree that the obvious one is Will McDonald.
The obvious one is Will McDonald. He's mine too. Joe Tippmann being in second place, a fine second place. But Will McDonald, I mean, the things I'd heard about that pick. And to give Joe Douglas credit, what was the guy that everybody said they should have got? Was Broderick Jones? He looks really bad in Pittsburgh.
He does. McDonald torched him.
Has slowed down a lot this year, but he's a second-year guy in the league who's a designated pass rusher. You're not going to get 2 sacks every game, but 8 sacks, still top 10 in the league, and more so in the last couple of games, he's being more disruptive without getting sacks, which I think was your very, as Marcelo says, Sherwood. I think that might have been the other one.
That was the third guy I was mentioning, yes.
But you've been very stingy for compliments with McDonald because I think you were one of the guys who said he did have 3 sacks, but it wasn't really a 3-sack performance.
Yes, I feel like I was realistic with him, and I had said earlier in the year, I'm like, these sacks are unsustainable. He's not getting it like a bunch of these sacks out of his own merit right now. And
but the pressure rate is still where it's still a rate that you want to see it at for year 2.
Absolutely. I think he is a very good pass rusher and a near unplayable run defender. But he's still a valuable player because he's a good pass rusher.
And that's what they drafted him for. So
it's exactly what they drafted him for, and I think he's been their most improved player. Tippmann is also playing at a very high level. I think he's been a top 10 center this year, which is a huge leap for him. That's very encouraging to see. And then, as Marcelo said, Sherwood as well, I think belongs in that discussion. Sherwood has stepped into a starting role, and I think has played at a fine level. I think he was playing a lot better earlier in the year. It's just so hard to evaluate a lot of the roster right now, given how bad everything is. But yeah, I'd like to see them bring back Sherwood, maybe in a starting role next year. Yeah, he's been good.
Now Justin has taken the liberty of making his own little award,
go through some of these.
My only contribution is the Skip Bayless Award for Biggest Liar, and I'll send that over to Aaron Rodgers just because I just had to give that. I give that out every year. The Skip Bayless Memorial Award because he's off TV now for Biggest Liar, Aaron Rodgers.
I know
we got sold a bill of goods.
I know we didn't do Biggest Disappointment yet, but I did have somebody different for that we have not.
Really?
Mentioned. I did not have Tyron Smith. I did not have Hassan Reddick.
I thought you had Reddick locked in on that.
I went with the player. Maybe it's because I wanted to give an award to this person for that, because we already talked about Reddick and Tyron Smith. It's Aaron Rodgers, Mike. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
It's Aaron Rodgers because the entire season was predicated on Aaron Rodgers being at least a solid to good quarterback, if not better. There were very high expectations, even for a guy coming off a torn Achilles. And we've reached a point where I don't know if it's because of he's banged up or it's his age or whatever it is. He's not a good quarterback. He's a bad quarterback. He's a bad starting quarterback right now. In going into week 13 of 2024, he is a bad starting quarterback. And I think he has been the biggest letdown in that department. Maybe not as much as Reddick or Tyron Smith.
I think, just the volume of
how important
I would say Rodgers is probably in the 18-19 range for quarterbacks right now.
I would say it's even worse. I think his performance lately has been worse. I think his performance lately has been 20 to 24 range.
Plus, if he's hurt too, you got to factor that. Reddick didn't show up and burn $10 million on fire.
Zerline as well. People are saying Zerline in chat.
Zerline. Yes, I'm probably gonna go Zerline.
Zerline is also fair for that. Zerline, in terms of what he did last year, literally having the best season of any kicker in Jets history.
And then now he can't do anything right.
To the worst kicker in football, that's a pretty big.
I think it's Zerline. Rodgers is not the worst quarterback in football. Greg Zerline.
No, I went Rodgers just because of his importance to the organization compared to Greg Zerline. Relative to their position, sure, Zerline over Rodgers. I approached it differently. But yeah, again, these negative awards, there were some serious competition. Last year I said Dalvin. You said Dalvin because you were expecting bigger things from Dalvin. I said Carl Lawson because I was expecting bigger things from Carl Lawson. One award we haven't done yet: Comeback Player of the Year. Last year it was very easy. It was Breece Hall. It was very easy.
Well, I guess it's not even Rodgers. It should have been Rodgers walking away.
It should have been, but it's not. It can't be Rodgers. I think there's a not easy pick for this, but I think there's one that makes a lot of sense. And that's Elijah Vera Tucker. I would say AVT. He's coming back from a torn Achilles. He's been mostly healthy this year. He missed just 2 games, I believe, to the ankle injury, and he's played at a high level. Lazard, it could have been Lazard if he didn't get hurt.
Lazard would have been most improved if he didn't get hurt too, I think.
Right. He could have been comeback or most improved, whichever one. Those would have made sense. We had an award last year called the Pay This Man Now Award, and sadly that award went to Bryce Huff, who was no longer on the team.
And then the Eagles took our advice, and I think
they paid this man
might
now.
be regretting that.
Well, I will loop in another award here, which is a new award that I threw in this year that we didn't have last year, which is the Look How They Massacred My Boy Award, and I gave that to Bryce Huff. Because what the hell, man? I'm sad. I'm really sad to see what has happened to Bryce Huff since he left the Jets. Look how they massacred my boy. What has happened to him? I'm very sad about that. But if we want,
the Eagles' defense is awesome outside of him, so I'm inclined to believe it's not incompetence.
I don't know. As Manish Mehta's burner, Brian said in chat, Morgan Moses can also be comeback player of the year because he literally came back to the team. Sure, and
he's been okay.
That works, and he's been good. But yeah, if we wanted to give the Pay This Man Now award, is there anybody going into the offseason that you're like, I want to see this guy get paid from the Jets?
Well, they got to start thinking about extending, the 2022 guys now.
Yep.
So I imagine it's going to be in that Sauce, Garrett, Hall trio. Jermaine, I don't even know what you do now after the injury with him, but
you definitely can't this offseason.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I think Breece makes the most sense to me because if you have even though he's had a down year, he's been a lot better lately. He's looked very good. And I think you want to get ahead of the curve with running backs. So I'd rather extend him earlier than everyone else.
I think the market overcorrected way too hard with not paying these guys. And literally the top 3 rushers this year are all guys who changed teams: Saquon, Derrick Henry, and Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
So I think finally they're going to start investing more money into running back. So if you get Brees now, kind of like Bryce Huff last year, you could kind of beat the rush.
That is. But
exactly also Sauce is the best of the 3. You should probably extend him.
Yeah.
Garrett is probably, I think, a better wide receiver than Brees is a running back. So there's arguments there. That's a tough one.
It is tough. I think I lean Brees right now, but we'll, and maybe Sauce as well, obviously.
And they have Allen if they don't like they have the replacements if they like Sauce is going to be like, that's just a matter of time. I guess they have more replacements for Brees than they do for Garrett right now.
Moment of the year. Last year's moment of the year. I said it was the Xavier Gibson punt return, which fair. You said the Tony Adams pick against the Eagles, also fair. Those are both very cool, very fun moments. It's a lot harder this year. There are really 2. There are literally only 2 like positive memories that I think I'm going to have associated with this season. The one that I picked is the Garrett Wilson catch against the Texans. I think.
Yeah, how could it not be? It might be the best catch I've ever seen.
I think it might be the best catch I've ever seen. And if we're going to have any takeaways from this year, if we're going to remember any positive moments from this year, it's going to be that one, because that's
going to be the cover on the DVD that reaching back.
Because the other moment would be that week 3 win over the Patriots, which at the time was awesome. And that was a great, great moment. And
what did you tweet after that, Justin?
Right. And I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
What did you tweet after that?
I don't want to talk about it, Mike. Because same old Jets.
My memory's going, though. I'm like, I got Russell Wilson nanobubbles and my memory's going.
Same old Jets is unfortunately as alive as ever, and I was very wrong.
He tweeted same old Jets is dead, folks. That's what he's
tweeted,
weasel his way out of.
I tweeted specifically same old Jets is fucking dead was the time. And I believe that's only like the first or second time I tweeted fuck from the Jet Press account. So I was really emphatic about it. And here we are. And that's what I get for being optimistic and excited about it.
I can't believe and then 2 weeks later they fired the coach.
And then 2 weeks later, gone. Insane. So I
can't
think
believe they fired him after the drive, Justin.
After the drive, after the famous drive that every Jets fan.
A regular drive that teams have 3 times a game.
Last year, we have another tough one here. Special teams player of the year. Last year, this was tough for a different reason. There were so many guys deserving of it. I gave it to Morstead, mostly because we had a Morstead interview dropping that same day. You gave it to Zerline, which was very fair. Who the hell do we give it to this year? I gave it to Thomas Hennessy because I don't know who else to say. He's a good long snapper, man. I don't know.
Gibson, I don't know.
Who'd you say?
Gibson, I don't know.
No, it can't be. Gibson's a below average return.
I'm stretching here.
Irv Charles, he's been good, but he's also had a couple penalties. Morstead's been an average punter, I guess. It's rough. It's really rough.
Anders
I gave it to
Carlson.
Hennessy. Or no, Spencer Schrader. Should we give it to Spencer Schrader? We'll give it to Schrader, Carlson, and Patterson because actually none of them have missed a kick since the Jets have not missed a kick since Greg Zuerlein was gone. Was put on IR, which is pretty hilarious.
And you know what? If they make those kicks, they're 5-6. They got a shot.
Exactly.
They got a shot.
This is a fun one. The most underrated by the fan base. So specifically by the fan base. Last year, you said Quentin Jefferson. I said John Franklin Myers. And boy, oh boy, is JFM still underrated. And that was proved this past offseason. Who do you think it is this year? I have a pick. I have a choice in mind. And I can say it first because I already wrote mine down if you want. My pick for the most underrated player, specifically by the fan base, Sauce Gardner. I think we have reached a point where this man is underrated. And that's crazy to say because he was the best corner in the NFL through 2 years. He's had a down year by his standards by far. And we've had this.
And he's still like top 10 in all the coverage, everything.
Right. He's still a top 10 cover corner in the NFL. Unfortunately, his tackling is an issue and he doesn't have his ball skills are a problem. So if his coverage skills aren't elite, then his impact is affected. But he's still a really good player, and he's still one of the best players in the roster. And I don't think a lot of fans seem to think that.
It's just like social media has been really bad, and that it's just easy to dogpile on people now.
It is, especially when the team is bad.
Dude, I've seen Bryce Young is better than C.J. Stroud takes recently.
What?
Because it's like
Where?
in the last 3 games, his passer rating, like
And I've seen the same
that's the
stuff.
world
Like,
we live in. Like that's what
and
I'm
now
ascribing this to.
I keep seeing a bunch of people be like, Jaden Daniels sucks now too, forgetting that what he did early in the season, and not that his last 2 weeks.
Caleb, my God, forget it with him.
Oh my God, yeah. So
He's
it's
playing good, and they're saying he's not even doing that now. Like it's ridiculous.
It's very easy to overlook stuff like that, especially when your team is playing like shit. So Sauce Gardner makes a lot of sense for that. I have a couple more. The Sadly Washed Award. This is a new one. We didn't have this last year.
I wonder who this is going to be. Gee.
There's a few. There's actually 3 that come to mind immediately. And I don't know, who would you give it to?
Oh, without a doubt, Rodgers. I know Tyron Smith, but Tyron Smith had been breaking down before that for a while.
He was an all-pro last year.
But, I mean, physically, like, he always had the injuries.
Sure, but he was still playing at a high level. I'm tempted to give it to Tyron Smith. But maybe it is Rodgers. It's one of the two. Either one, I watch them and I'm just like, damn, man, this is sad. Like, it's just that's like the best definition of this award. It's like, man, like I
feel like Rodgers still can but throwing the ball, I don't think is the problem with Rodgers anymore. He can still throw the ball really well. It's just the other stuff.
He's playing hurt too. It's hard to say how much of it is washed and he's hurt. But then Zerline is the other one where, like, I don't know if a kicker could be washed, but if a kicker can be washed, holy shit, Greg Zerline is washed.
He's got he's Chuck Knobloch. He's
got the yips.
Sasser. Mackie Sasser couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher.
Yeah.
Rick Ankiel got that too. He would throw the ball like literally 5 feet over the catcher's head.
And that's why he became a position player. That's why he became an outfielder.
Chuck Knobloch actually, I believe, knocked Keith Olbermann's mom out with an errant throw and sent her to the hospital.
Jesus Christ.
From second base to first base, he overthrew it by that much.
Brian said most washed is Zerline. Yeah, I think you have a strong case for Zerline there. We have 2 more. And this one's a genuine discussion. I want to know who you think. This is a good award. I actually want to keep doing this every year. We didn't do it last year. The award is the Play This Man More Award. So who do we want the Jets to be giving more snaps to? Who should be playing more? Every year there's at least 1 or 2 players to that. Well, this year, what?
It's tough because
I have a pick.
He doesn't deserve it on merit.
Okay.
But it's going to have to be Malachi Corley. Like, you got to see if he's got anything.
Okay,
like,
I agree with that.
I mean, like, I don't think he's going to be particularly good if Irv Charles is beating him out already, and he's an older player. He's not like a 20-year, not like Braylon Allen where he's all young and he's still kind of learning how to be a running back.
Yeah,
like you at least got to see.
You're
not going to find out sitting on the bench.
I agree. I would like to play that man more. I would agree. I would want them to play Malachi Corley more. I do have a pick that I think is a better pick. And it's somebody who I think deserves it based on merit, especially ahead of the guys, more than the guys ahead of him. That's Leonard Taylor. Let's play Leonard Taylor more. Let's give Leonard Taylor more snaps.
He's been good. I like him.
He's genuinely been good. Like, on a defensive line that has been, especially the interior, outside of Quinn Williams, is garbage. Solomon Thomas is having a bad year. Javon Kinlaw is having a bad year. Their D tackle room stinks outside of Quinnen. Leonard Taylor has actually been good. His pressure rate is high. His pass rush grade is very high. He's actually playing the run much better than I thought he would. There is zero reason. The last time that Bruce Hector was active for that Colts game, Bruce Hector played more snaps than Leonard Taylor. What are we doing? Why?
Leonard Taylor was regarded as like a top 50 pick in like literally a calendar year ago. I was seeing Leonard Taylor first round. I was floored when he went undrafted. I'm like, there's no way he's not even going to. I had him going like end of round 3. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably be gone by then.
Because of the physical gifts alone. Yeah.
It baffled me. How
it is crazy to me. He's a super high upside, athletic freak of a player who was a former 5-star recruit and considered a potential first-round pick. And he is playing well. Did really well in the summer. It's
funny because Braden McGregor looked terrible. Eric Watts looks terrible.
Well, I think Watts
he's the only one.
I think Watts has been okay. I think Watts has been fine. Not that it matters. I think Watts has been fine. McGregor, not so much. But Taylor's genuinely playing well. What in the world has Bruce Hector done to deserve to play almost double the snaps that Leonard Taylor? What are we doing? Like, what is that? So that just for that game alone. Play Leonard Taylor more. Also, small shout out, play Kenny Yeboah more. I want to see what Kenny Yeboah could do. Kenny Yeboah has been on the field he's played 4 offensive snaps this year and has 3 catches. That's pretty good.
And a touchdown.
Yeah, or if he's run 4 routes and he's had 3 catches and a touchdown. Pretty good. Play Kenny Baltimore, especially because that tight end room not looking great. And then the last one, this is not a discussion. I just wanted to throw this out there because I think this person deserves to be mentioned, especially considering that they are the namesake of our award show, which, called the Woodies. The Director of Dysfunction Award has to go to Woody Johnson. Just wanted to throw that out there.
He gets the Jet Press Lifetime Achievement Award for total abhorrence.
Yes, he is. I think he is going to, as long as he is owner of the team, it will forever, he will be the annual recipient of the Director of Dysfunction Award. I went for the alliteration there.
Until next year when Chris wins it.
That's true. If he's gone, that's true. Maybe Chris can win it next year. This was not one that had anybody else in the running. It was just strictly Woody Johnson was the only name.
The only other guys that could have been in were Sala and Douglas.
They're both fired. And he fired his competition. So look at that.
That's a good way to win an award. You just knock off the competition. Very Tanya Harding of him.
Exactly. We did not have that award last year, but I wanted to.
Except Woody succeeded and Nancy Kerrigan won. So.
Sure, yes. Anyway, that concludes our second annual Woodies Midseason Award Show. We will be doing another edition of the Woodies at the end of the year when we do our postseason award show at some point. I don't know when we'll do that, but it'll be some point after the season ends, like we did last year, I believe. So I had fun. Doing this. I don't know about you, Mike, but I had a great time.
I'd have a better time if they weren't 3-8.
I agree. I want to be doing one of these when they're a good team, man. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, I also want to date Sydney Sweeney. So let's cool. Let's
cool
our Jets here.
I feel like you've said that multiple times in the show.
I've said Charlize Theron a couple times.
Okay.
Think of the name. I gotta hire her.
Dua Lipa. Throw Dua Lipa in there. That's
probably.
Anyway,
like I got a choice. Like I'm being picky. Yeah, like I've got like.
Ooh, Brian's got a great point here. Firing the competition is a great strategy. Can we do that with the other 31 teams and just declare ourselves champion? You're onto something here, Mike. You're on this. Maybe. Hold on. Maybe
if we Tanya Harding every other team,
maybe Woody can pull some strings with Mr. President-elect and figure out a way that the NFL can disband most of the roster or most of their.
He already had forced one league to disband. Why can't he?
Right. Yeah. He could just force 31 other teams to disband, and there you go. And then the Jets can win the Super Bowl.
You whatever you think politically, inarguable fact. He ruined the USFL. But anyway, USFL. Thank you.
Yes.
For getting into the Jet Press podcast. Justin, I hope your holidays are a little bit better than what a 3-8 season would entail.
I'm just happy we don't have to watch Tim Boyle play on Black Friday like we did last year.
We have to watch him play on Thanksgiving this time.
Well, that's fine, but he's not playing for the Jets. And I don't have to cover the game. I just can watch the game and be like, haha, Giants, you're miserable.
I almost forgot about the Hail Mary pick 6.
Yep.
The Hail Mary, we called it, I believe.
Yep, the Hail Mary, I believe it was referred to as. Yeah, that was pretty rough. It was 10-6 before that happened. It was actually a competitive.
It was 10-6. Were the Jets up or were they? I forget.
No, they were losing. It was a competitive game.
Yeah.
And then the Hail Mary happened at the end of the half, and yeah, it was a disaster after that.
And then 2 weeks later, he got fired. He was leaking that Zach Wilson didn't want to play, and
which Aaron Rodgers, by the way, said that today he was asked. In media, he said that there is a leak problem in the organization. He said 100% there's a leak problem, so they should call a plumber and get that fixed. Anyway,
it's Woody and Tim Boyle was the leaks.
Yeah. Anyway, Mike, I hope that you enjoy your Thanksgiving as well. I hope your holidays are great. Same to everybody in chat. On Sunday, we will be back on Sunday. I don't think I will be here. It should be Mike doing the show, so Mike will be here. I am sadly and unfortunately going to the Jets-Seahawks game. And I'm putting myself through that. And I don't know why, but I will be at the game.
I don't even think I think it's supposed to rain, isn't it too?
Is it really, dude? Oh my God. Why am I going to this fucking game?
Weatherford.
It might be. I went to the Jets-Jags game, the Thursday night game a couple years ago with Strep.
No, but you get a nice high of 36. So
whatever, man. Whatever, man. I'll be at that game. So I probably won't be able to be here for the post-game live stream, but I will be back on Wednesday. And yeah, I hope everyone in chat, I appreciate everybody who tuned in, everybody who's watching, any members, and everybody who just leaves a like, comments, just watches. Always appreciate it. I hope everybody has an amazing Thanksgiving tomorrow. Spend some time with your friends and family before we have to torment ourselves with another football game on Sunday. Brian asks, how did you get tickets to such an exclusive event? Believe it or not, these tickets were purchased months ago. And so we spent over $100 on these tickets that are probably worth like $20 right now or $10. So maybe it's sunk cost fallacy. That might be why I'm going. So pray for me. Pray for me on Sunday. Anyway, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at by Mike Luciano. Follow me on Twitter, Justin T. Freed. Follow the Jet Press and the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also become a member, as Mike mentioned at the top of the show. Just 99 cents, and it helps support the show and get your chats and your comments in chat prioritized. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and live immediately following every single Jets game. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Freed. That has been Mike Luciano. We'll see you guys next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.